I'm the uncle of the startup sauna ecosystem, the Aalto ES ecosystem that was born here from this house. A couple of Finnish students came from Stanford, they did a road trip to the US, and at the end of their road trip, where they wanted to see how venture capitalism and how universities and how new entrepreneurship is built, as one of the final points of their journey in the US, they went and met with the Finnish professor Bengt Holmström, who was at the MIT, and they talked about these issues, and then Bengt asked the guys, well, what are you going to do? And the guys said, we're going to write the paper and publish that paper. Bengt was like, he thinks that that Finland is already filled with paper. So how about doing something? And the guys were like, They came here and looked at the startup sauna building over there, and it was empty. So what they did was they did an activist thing, and they went and actually took over that building and started creating this culture of where people share their ideas and discuss and talk openly, and then they started running as elderly people we had these cars. And we started building this ecosystem in collaboration with the university and with the VCs. And about a month ago, the MIT came out with a report, a research outcome, where this ecosystem was declared as one of the 5 global leaders amongst the innovation ecosystems. And we were like, wow, what metrics did they use? And we started, because it's great to be one of the 5 global leaders, but what is it that actually made this thing? And we started looking at the metrics, and the metric that made this place important, and this is the reason why I'm telling you this story is, that is what you have to do. You have to share your ideas with each other. In my hobby as the uncle of this establishment, I see about hundreds of startup pitches a year. Hundreds, if not thousands. And I coach tens of teams. And most of the times when I have a number of teams, I'm like, and I'm not stupid. I'm slow, I'm old, and I'm oversimplifying, but I'm not stupid yet. And very often it so happens that I actually don't understand what you're doing. You talk about things that you have done, and you talk about products that you're doing, and you're talking about them like a parent takes care and talks about their children. You love them. You love them regardless of what they do. You will always love them. Regardless of if they grow up to be me, my mother still loves me. And I've been lucky enough, don't laugh. I've been lucky enough to find a woman to share my life with, and she still loves me. But the one thing is, you have to step out and grow as an individual or as a company. And that is in fact the core content of this masterclass. I want you, when we're done, I want you to feel that you have all the tools that you will ever need to develop yourself to be the Iron Man or Barbarella or whatever you wish to be. And it's all up to you to use them. That's my only intent. Okay? How I now have analyzed you is that you all very much love your children. Okay. Now, the 2 teams that should present the products, how long is the estimated time for the presentation of the products?
I'd say 5 minutes each.
5 minutes.
Time for you, as long as you need to give them feedback.
Yeah. It's you and it's you. Sure. I'm going to help you. After you have done your presentations, I'm going to make this really easy for you. I will start by showing Steve Jobs doing his iPhone introduction in 2007, which is by many regarded as the ultimate presentation of any technology product ever. It is so good that even the Klingons from Star Trek come to see it. And they have it on repeat. They have a Star Trek channel dedicated on showing that as a rerun all the time. So No problems, no pressure, just stage is yours. 5 minutes, sharp.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Can I show product demo actually? That's not that
If you want to show a product demo.
that might work better actually. That speaks better than sentences.
Have you seen the demo?
No? Yes.
Yes.
Is it good?
These two heights.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to give you the audio because we have...
No, I don't need the audio.
Good. There you go.
Can't see it here. What?
Okay. What
Alright.
do you want me to do?
I'll let you.
Okay.
All right. Can I begin? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're waiting for you.
You run it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've all been to school. We've all been to colleges. Some of you may have been to a business school. Some of you may have been to a law school. Some of you may have been to a medical school. But everywhere, for the last 250 years, what happens in a classroom is somebody like a professor uses the whiteboard or the blackboard, and the blackboard has evolved into something which is a little more fancy. But ultimately, what happens in a classroom is that I as a professor keep talking, and you as students listen. Some of you sort of get lost after 10 minutes, some of you after 30 minutes, and eventually everybody is lost. Now we at Harness are going to change that. We're going to change that by reinventing the classroom delivery. Now thanks to Steve Jobs, iPads and several other tablets have made their way into the classroom. But very often teachers, students and administrators are wondering with the question, how do I make it really work inside a classroom? Can it really change education? We at Harness have the answer. The answer is a product called Unio, which we're envisioning to be a learning operating system, to be an operating system for learning that transforms the currency of the classroom from lecturing to collaboration, that transforms one size fits all approach by the teacher to personalization, that transforms simple things like an education video into interaction. Let me spend the next couple of minutes showing you how. I'll show you two features of our product, and you'll sort of be able to understand what the rest of the product could do. Now I'm going to simulate a little classroom here. I'm going to be teacher. Isha is going to be my student. We'll actually network in real time. I'm going to show you some of the live collaboration features that our product can do. My name is David Williams. I'm a teacher who teaches math, physics, biology. As you know, I'm a superstar. I can teach both math and science. Let me go into my class. There are 4 building blocks of Unio. There is a planning module, there is a teaching module, there is an assessment module, there is a sharing module. Now, in the interest of time, let me go jump into a live class. Now, this is my whiteboard. We have actually mimicked the physical world so that even a teacher who thinks a tablet is a medicine can actually use this. I have started a new class on a new page. I am on page 25. If I flip back, whatever I taught in my previous classes are available. Now, this is like a master digital notebook, where any content like a PDF or a PowerPoint can sit. I can annotate on top of it. This can be a video, this can be practically anything. It can be a material from MOOC. Now as I started the class, my student gets a bell that a class has started. So he's going to join my class. And Unio comes with excellent mobile device management layers. So as a student, as a teacher, I didn't have to worry if my student goes into Facebook because the device gets automatically locked. Now, let's say I'm a math teacher who likes to use the whiteboard. Now let's say I teach the concept of linear equations. If I say 6x equals 12, this is what I want to solve for. And you see here it comes to the students instantly. And this can scale up to hundreds and thousands of users because we've built proprietary technology on data compression. And unlike screen sharing, where if you must have done WebEx sessions, you must have done GoToMeeting sessions, all you can do is just watch the other side, whereas we are different. This one is a magic notebook where what I write goes to the student instantly, but student can write her own layer on top of it. So Yushay can solve this problem, and me as a teacher can monitor students in real time. So here is my student mosaic. This is what Yushay has written in real time. So clearly he hasn't understood the problem. Now what I can say is, I can take Yushay, I can actually give him one-on-one coaching, or if he's managed to solve the problem, I can take control of what he's doing. I can make a correction. I can say you need to solve it this way. And right now I'm having a personalized one-on-one interaction with Yushay. This has never been possible in the traditional classroom. And if Yushay's answer is interesting, in this case it's interesting for the wrong reason, I can hit this button called broadcast, and everybody in your classroom who has a device will see Yushay's answer. This has never been possible before in the classroom. I would have to actually ask the student to come and write it on the blackboard. I would waste precious classroom time. This is just one way in which we can collaborate. There are hundreds of such collaboration features that we've built. I can launch a poll live, can get answers in real time. I can divide you into groups. I can get you to solve a problem and then present it as a group to the rest. So this is just one of the many features. As I said, our aim is to actually disrupt lecturing as a pedagogy and change the role of the teacher from somebody who delivers a lecture to somebody who facilitates a collaborative discussion inside the classroom. It can be used in middle school, higher education, high school, as well as in online education. Thank you.
First of all, congratulations on not spending 5 minutes on the pitch.
Okay, I thought I overshot actually.
The worst mistake was, and that's the only mistake, that we had given you 5 minutes and you didn't use all of it. And you ran.
Yeah.
The world and the universe is full of speed. And there are very few individuals who actually think that there isn't enough speed in the universe. And one of the most important things that when you present or when you talk, the most important moment of any delivery of information, of any communication, is the time that you give to the others. Pause, break, enjoy you notice how all of a sudden we have this tension and no one is actually talking much. That is what you have to learn to use. And of many things that you say that you do, I must say that one thing that you showed is absolutely amazing. I don't even want to know anything about all those other things that you do. I want to have that thing. Because if I want to drink water, I want to drink water. And if I need water, I want water. I don't want to know that you have the possibility to deliver me oranges or plastic bags or whatever wrappers. I want water. So find the one thing, and that is one of the things that we will be walking now in this masterclass. How to find out what is your water and how to make people want exactly that water. Because one thing can only do one thing so well. But this is a cool thing.
Yeah, that's why I chose that.
Yeah, it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Did we have another?
Yeah. So this goes back to you, right?
Yep.
You have a lot of time. time to get ready for this. No. We don't have a lot of time to get ready for this. Do we have to show, or?
No, you don't have to show the slide.
Okay, let's not show.
So I'm just supposed to take one.
You need a timer.
No, I don't need it. I can my hand with you.
That's the timer. Okay. So we're Think with Things. This is Julianne and Isabel. And we are developing a solution for teachers. So if you think of complex problems can be difficult to explain to small children. So mathematical problems, language problems can be quite difficult to explain. Objects help to explain these problems. For example, the difference between a circle and a sphere. Trying to write this down on paper can be very difficult, especially for a 3 or a 4-year-old. But showing the objects, playing with the objects, touching the objects, it's immediately obvious. Again, if you have a block and you ask a child, an older child, to make a square out of these blocks, and then you ask them to make a larger square, a square that's twice as big, but did they use twice as many blocks? So suddenly they understand the concept of squaring a number without having used numbers or pens or paper. They're using the objects to understand a complex mathematical feature. So what we have thousands of these connections between materials and learning possibilities that Jules has been working on for quite a long time.
So what we've found out through about 7 years of working on this methodology with children from the ages of 6 all the way up to adults, as we did yesterday, is that when any people have objects in their hands, their thinking is different. It's different than when you have a piece of paper and a pencil. It's different when you have a computer in front of you. It changes your level of thinking and it gets you to a different place. So there was what we are trying to do is bring these everyday materials into the classroom so that certain students who aren't working so well on a piece of paper and pencil, who aren't understanding the mathematical concepts or the language, can do that with objects. And the thing is that we have objects in classrooms, right? We can buy all kinds of math manipulatives and all of these things. And what I found is by going into classrooms, teachers are, because of lack of budget or because the materials didn't come in, they aren't doing this anymore. So they're still giving them this piece of paper that they just went and copied in the copy machine. But actually, all the material that they need is there in their classroom. So our application is going to help them find these everyday materials in their classroom to teach with.
So what the teacher will do is they'll use our application to help prepare lessons, to engage with children in their lessons, with objects, with real objects that they have found. And together, the teachers and children capture that moment of learning. They capture what they have done well in that lesson. They capture the interactions with materials.
And the interaction between the children as well.
Yeah, and then they share this experience with other teachers, with parents. And this in itself helps build our database of connections with materials and educational possibilities. When they share these, they then extend the learning by learning from other teachers' experiences with children. So this database of learning is continually growing and continually expanding. Voila.
So if I want a 5-word answer from you, what is it you do? How would you answer that question?
We enable the connection. We connect the digital and the real world.
Cool. Thank you.
And those 5 words would have been sufficient.
But you said that we were supposed to take 5 minutes.
You don't have to. You don't. In his case, he would have talked just like you about your children.
But then you made me very nervous with that.
He felt he had to do 5 minutes.
Comment. Maybe maybe I'm so narrow-minded, but I feel that, and come from the new media field, but I would like to see the actual product. At least showing a phone that this is the thing and there's an app.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still
Something
at
which
concept phase, you see. Our product exists in wireframes and...
Yeah, but even if you would have took your phone off and say the app
And it's here. It's gonna be here.
It's gonna be here.
It's gonna be here. And if you could actually sort of think of his connection between the thing that he's doing here and the things that you were not understanding, if you could actually share those objects within the group and create a spherology on top of the internet, wouldn't that be cool? You know, sharing those objects and how they work, and you know, you could, wow. So curiosity. We became curious because what you were showing was, what is it that they're doing?
And you were just using the word application once, which doesn't really refer to even a software product. It's just application of things. So.
Coming from Finland, you know the typical Finnish engineer works in the telecommunications industry and has been studying here at the University of Technology. He has probably in average 2.7 PhDs and he is living in a TCP/IP package planet. So the things that he understands are framework and platform. If it's anything else than a platform or a framework, he doesn't understand. Okay? So good, yes. Okay. Yes.
We'll study here, so actually,
Yeah, exactly. That's the way the world was. Cool. Let's move forward. So I will show you an example of a delivery of a presentation. You know, some say that this is good. I think it is. It's okay. We're going to spend 7 minutes 47 seconds watching this.
I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years. Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. And Apple has been, well, first of all, one's very fortunate if you get to work on just one of these in your career. Apple's been very fortunate. It's been able to introduce a few of these into the world. In 1984, we introduced the Macintosh. It didn't just change Apple, it changed the whole computer industry. In 2001, we introduced the first iPod. And it didn't just change the way we all listen to music, it changed the entire music industry. Well, today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things. A widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. And here it is. Now, actually, here it is, but we're going to leave it there for now. So, before we get into it, let me talk about a category of things. The most advanced phones are called smartphones, so they say. And they typically combine a phone plus some email capability, plus they say it's the internet, sort of the baby internet, into one device. And they all have these plastic little keyboards on them. And the problem is that they're not so smart and they're not so easy to use. So if you kind of make a business school 101 graph with a smart axis and the easy to use axis, phones, regular cell phones are kind of right there. They're not so smart and they're not so easy to use. But smartphones are definitely a little smarter, but they actually are harder to use. They're really complicated. Just for the basic stuff, people have a hard time figuring out how to use them. Well, we don't want to do either one of these things. What we want to do is make a leapfrog product that is way smarter than any mobile device has ever been and super easy to use. This is what iPhone is. Okay? So, we're going to reinvent the phone. Now, we're going to start with a revolutionary user interface. It is the result of years of research and development. And, of course, it's an interplay of hardware and software. Now, why do we need a revolutionary user interface? I mean, here's 4 smartphones, right? Motorola Q, the BlackBerry, Palm Treo, Nokia E62, the usual suspects. And what's wrong with their user interfaces? Well, the problem with them is really sort of in the bottom 40 there. It's this stuff right here. They all have these keyboards that are there whether you need them or not to be there. And they all have these control buttons that are fixed in plastic and are the same for every application. Well, every application wants a slightly different user interface, a slightly optimized set of buttons just for it. And what happens if you think of a great idea 6 months from now? You can't run around and add a button to these things. They're already shipped. So what do? It doesn't work because the buttons and the controls can't change. They can't change for each application, and they can't change down the road if you think of another great idea you want to add to this product. Well, how do you solve this? It turns out we have solved it. We solved it in computers 20 years ago. We solved it with a bitmap screen that could display anything we want, put any user interface up, and a pointing device. We solved it with the mouse, right? We solved this problem. So how are we going to take this to a mobile device? Well, what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen. A giant screen. Now, how are we going to communicate this? We don't want to carry around a mouse, right? So what are we going to do? Oh, a stylus, right? We're going to use a stylus. No. Who wants a stylus? You have to get them and put them away and you lose them. Yuck. Nobody wants a stylus. So let's not use a stylus. We're going to use the best pointing device in the world. We're going to use a pointing device that we're all born with. We're born with 10 of them. We're going to use our fingers. We're going to touch this with our fingers. And we have invented a new technology called multi-touch, which is phenomenal. It works like magic. You don't need a stylus. It's far more accurate than any touch display that's ever been shipped. It ignores unintended touches. It's super smart. You can do multi-finger gestures on it. And boy, have we patented it.
Okay, this was Steve Jobs presenting iPhone. How many words
in how many words did he condense the message that he delivered?
3.
What were the words?
iPod, phone, and internet.
Apple reinvents the phone. 4 words. In this beautiful, and what happened with the iPhone, it changed a few industries. It changed the software industry. It changed the telecommunications hardware industry. It changed the way operators work. It changed 5, 6, 7, count them. It changed the world with 4 words. Apple, who does it? Reinvents. Reinventing means he used the verb inventing that includes everything that had to do with inventing. And reinventing, by using the word reinventing, he included everything Graham Bell and Marconi and all of the guys had done. Everything was condensed in one word. Apple, who does what? Reinvents what? The phone. Wow. And nobody understood. Think of the people at Nokia when they were watching this live cast. They probably didn't even watch it because it was just, we already have it. All the features that he will, they said, we have it. What they didn't understand, that someone just went and reinvented the whole universe. Set a whole new set of rules with 4 words. Okay? Now, this is what I hope to be the outcome of this masterclass. That you will become the ones who not just create the products, but also describe, and beautifully describe, whatever you want to do in the way he did with the iPhone. That's what I want to give you. I want to give you the tools, the only tools that you will ever need to create something he did and even better. Now, that was the first movie about Steve Jobs. I had, I've had the luxury of spending time with people who have worked under him, and I knew him somehow, but he was a human being. He had one thing that made him so good, and that one thing was curiosity. He was curious. He kept on asking one question. Why? Or why not? He wasn't satisfied with the results that the world gave him. He wanted something more. He wanted, and he knew that he had the chances. Every one of us has the chance of realizing our dream. And that is the biggest responsibility of educators and developers of educational technology. The responsibility that we carry is our ability to create tools that enable future generations to realize their dreams. Nothing is as powerful as a dream. And nowhere lies greater responsibility than in the hands of the ones who create and shape the tools that will either destroy or build the dreams that the students, the children, the curious people of the world have when they enter the educational institutions. That responsibility is the flip side of the coin of entering an interesting business sphere of educational technology. That was also the reason why a long time ago, under a project called Ympyra, when we were looking at, does this technology work? I went to Silicon Valley and spoke with friends who had gone from Apple to start the educational edtech companies already in the 80s and 90s. I went to them and asked, could this work? And they said, you have to prove that it works. And that's why we went, like Teemu rightly pointed out, we went to Tec de Monterrey, into Mexico, into school, and did extensive research that we could prove that the system works. So that we could look the educators, or the children, or the parents in the eyes and say,
we know this works. Okay?
Did it work?
Yes. 6 weeks of implementation time in classrooms, mathematics 5th graders, 46% better learning results. On national level, 10 to 12% better outcome in those 2 schools. Yes, it did work. And it was built on a dream. On a dream of an individual who foresaw mobile and the world of education. Why wouldn't we use mobile? We don't have the money to build the schools. Why don't we use mobile? And we did it. Now, so what? And what is this? Well, this is your starting point. These are 5 words or 4 words put into context through the user's eyes. Movie time, folks. This is, well, Aape, he doesn't do anything himself. So all he does is he talks a lot and then he puts the videos up there. Yeah, that's right. I want to prove my case, because if I would be here just waving my hands, you'd be saying that he doesn't look that good. So I will be showing you a video, or a few minutes of the video by Simon Sinek.
How do you explain when other...
I like the logic, exactly. Have you seen this? Who hasn't seen this? Good.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet, they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered man flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered man flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery. And this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat-screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat-screen TVs. They've been making flat-screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products. And nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into three major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. Sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and your figures, and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can must...
Okay. There's a professor, Saraswati. She's an Indian. She comes from India, and she has done extensive research under this. She started under the guidance of Mr. Simon, who got a Nobel Prize for decision making. And Saraswati has been looking at what makes some entrepreneurs, some innovators successful, and why others don't. And she has created this theory of effectuation. I don't want to dwell deeper into the theme, but if you want to be really clever about how to develop your business and how to collaborate with those who are needed and required for your success, look into effectuation.org. It's great stuff. There's 5 phases and a model that you can implement in any business creation. Now, Simon Sinek is a Canadian. You recognize it from the Out. And he codified this. And so he talks about the why and why the why matters the most. What was the reason? Why was the why the most important thing?
Was it a psychological reason? It was a biological reason. Wow. That means that in all of this education technology thing, where we, when we're confronted with the formal, non-formal, informal educations, the curriculum changes, the measurements, the PISAs, the whatevers, people are most of the time looking at the whats and the hows, and they forget about the whys. But if you go to any parent, if you go to the parent only cares about the why, only about why that child, why that individual, why that company, why your product should get the success it needs, why your components should become the app that become the Rubik's Cube of the future, where people who don't know each other in waiting lounges at the airports, start throwing things at each other and start playing around with spheres. That would be a basis of developing a whole new cultural, social, anthropological insight into how we learn, and tie that into mechanisms of linguistic problems, how to get autistic children away from the things. That is all a why. Yet, you build a product and you pitch the product with the what's. You need to change that. There are so many education technology companies that are better funded than you are, who have better customers than they have better salespersons than you have. They have endless resources in comparison to anything you will ever get, that you will never win them if you fight their wars. You have to change the rules of the game. You need to be the Steve Jobs of your lives and say, I'm going to reinvent the phone. Okay? Not me, not him. Biology. We as animals, that's the way we work. And we need to take pride, and we need to stand up and talk about the whys we do this. Now, how do you create a why? Why do you need a why? Well, now Aape once again steps just to his slide, because he doesn't do anything else than just these slides. How did humans hunt? The story of, I was running one morning in Washington, D.C. I was running early in the morning. It was hot, I was sweating, and it was, Washington, D.C. is a city filled with people in the power suits and back cars driving back and forth, and I was running, middle-aged, old, fat guy, and sweating, and all of a sudden, from the corner of my eye, and I have bad eyesight, I see nothing without the glasses, I see a person running very clear, laser-sharp image, like this, and I stopped, and I was like, what was this? And I lost that image. Weird. So I started running again, and I noticed that person emerged, whoop, once again, and another one. And all of a sudden, I was running, there were thousands of people, sun was shining, sweat was running, and I was running, and I had these two people with me. I saw them laser sharp, and we ran in the same direction. It was a really weird experience. So I spoke with a guy who was into these biological things, and human behavior, and studies at a facility in the teachers in Stanford, and he said, well, but that's that's typical. That's the way we hunt. What? Well, back in the when humans were hunting, female included, when we find a prey, we have a lock on the individuals who walk with us in the same direction at about the same speed. And this group of people is the herd. And this herd has it could be called a swarm, and there's a swarm intelligence, blah, blah, blah. But this herd moves, it becomes an object itself. It becomes a system. And it also has a timing. First of all, it has a direction, speed, and then it has a goal. It can reach a place, and then when it sees something, it can lock its weapons, and it can time its attack in a coordinated fashion without communicating. Three things. Now, a few years after this thing, I'm looking at how to make and what makes things successful, and I remember looking at the power of three. So if you go to the interwebs and Google the power of three and pitching or speeches, you will notice that the most effective way of talking to large groups
is to always have, even our Premier Minister, Mr. Stubb, has this, he has this kolmen kovan or whatever. 3 themes, you know. It was égalité, fraternité, liberté, whatever. 3 things for the revolution. It wasn't 2 things, it wasn't 4 things, it was 3 things. It's the God, you know, it's all say 3 things. And it's based, once again, on the biology, from the same place where the decision-making was. So we, humans, are good to go when there's 1, okay, we're here, okay. 2, that's the direction, okay. And then 3, that's our target, okay. And then we 1, 2, 3, call for action, down. Whoa. Now, I have had the luxury, as I said, to work with people who have created a lot of stuff for Apple and with these evangelists and all that stuff. And it actually became apparent. And now when you look back at Steve Jobs' Apple presentation, there was the 3 things. But they didn't know it. So this has happened over the past few years with guys like Seneca, you know, that you notice that 3 things. Tell tales with 3 things. Okay, remember this when we move forward. Now, so the why was a question mark. Now, how do you formulate your question? What is, for example, your product? What was it did?
We're having a platform for teaching.
No platform.
You're finished, so I thought.
My uncle taught there for years. Yeah. So what is your question? What is your why?
What is our why?
Why no?
Why do we do that? Because we want children, we want children, people not to consume whatever is given through the devices.
Now we're talking about the hows and the whats.
No, it's the why. It's the why.
Do you think it's the why? If I ask you, is that the why?
It should be more fundamental and philosophical than that. I think so.
Did you hear? Fundamental philosophical, more simple, more human, you know. I'm hungry is a concept everybody knows. I'm hungry. I don't know how to explain. I have this feeling here under my shirt, but in fact it's not under my shirt, it is actually under the muscle and fat tissue and the skin, and I have this, and it leaves me, okay? So how do you create the why? Well, I'm going to, you know, I'm going to show you this. This is a graph that you have to download. Because whenever you want to cause confusion in your industry, all you got to do is have skills, an incentive, resources, and an action plan without a vision, and you will cause confusion. So this is a roadmap of what you need when you want to deliver change. Because remember the how and the why and the whats. You are producing a revolution. You will change your products, and you as entrepreneurs, and you as companies, and we as an industry, especially in this world where we have to unite and where we have to deliver European values into the emerging global edtech industry. The human European values need to become a part of that, in addition to the American money-driven kind of things in their edtech system. So to counteract on that front, we need to understand that the delivery of change on a system level, in a systemic innovation mechanism, requires the vision, the skills, incentive, resources, and action plan. So whenever you think you're done and you're ready, have this on your wall and say, I'm going to the trade show, I'm going to go talking with the teachers. Now, do the teachers have everything that is required to deliver change? And if there's something missing, then develop that. And if you yourselves can't develop what you should do, what should you do? What do? You call someone who knows people in the industry. You call someone who's in the academia. You call someone who's been there for a long time and ask, who could do this? Who could help me provide this? Okay? The equation for change, and find that, I can even email it, but this is important because it's easy to get lost because you're passionate. You love your child. Okay? Well, you didn't love your child. You said that.
Now, how do we create the question mark? Simple. I have created a formula for that. It is called, in this case, it is called the black carpet formula. Now, you first have to create a setting that describes the problem that exists. You have to create, you have to create one person who has a problem. A child, or if it's a parent, or if it's admit one person only. Okay? Then you need to describe, you put him on the scene. Then you have to describe the problem that he has, or she has. The problem, so that you don't have to speak about it, you just click, you take a snapshot, and the problem is there. And then you put those things that cause the problem in the same setting. For example, the thirst problems in Africa are caused by this and this, lack of water, whatever. Then, when that is done, and you can explain it so that everyone is certain that they understand, and here is where the first user testing. When you implement design thinking into your processes, this is where you go to the users and ask, is this your problem? Is this your problem? Is this your problem? And make certain that that is a problem worth solving, that it exists. Okay? Then you put a red, black carpet on the problem. It has your company logo on it, or product logo on it. And then you say, and then you show the world after your product was implemented with the problem solved. Okay? That change it's gonna come later. That change, the change that you do, answer to your why. Difficult thing. Problem, solution, your product, one thing that it does, that change is the answer to your why question. Make it easier. The answer was Steve Jobs showing all of those smartphones with the keyboard. Everyone knew, that's not a smartphone, the keyboard is really stupid. What happens? He used the power of 3 after that why, here's the keyboard. Everybody was like, it's stupid. Yes, you can't do this, you can't do that. So the group was there, everybody agreed, and then he said, call for action, there's a need for change, let's have an iPhone. And everybody, he himself had defined that problem. He then got all of us to agree on it because he showed it so nicely. There's a goddamn keyboard. And then everybody was like, remember, running, 1, finding the direction, 2, getting there, 3, create the iPhone. He had the crowd here. Everyone in the room agreed with the solution because we had co-created that solution. That is what you got to do. You have to, when you're this close to your coding and doing this and doing that and thinking of pricing models and talking to teachers and all those things, that's irrelevant. The relevance is to find this easy explanation. If everyone had water on the planet, no one would die of thirst. That's a pretty good problem, isn't it? And then the solution, your product, does this. Have you understood what I mean? Is this still too complex? Should we repeat this? Because this is the most important thing in the building of your story. Because that is the of your story. Questions? If there's no questions, I'll be mad at you. Because, okay.
Can you take one of the examples and reformulate it?
Yes.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to be using the same video because the same video acts also as the basis for Mr. Sinek and for the one that we're going to be watching in just a while. This is the problem. The change from this to this, change from these buttons to this, is the reason why they had to reinvent the phone. Did you get it?
Yeah, I get. No. What I'm saying is that you can take. If you can take.
One of the cases that.
Now you have to be. I would need to be deeper in that.
Try. I would like to try with the Tampere people because I love Tampere. We want it there.
Actually, it's quite similar because we kick out the keyboard and the mouse.
No, but I think that's not the why. I think the why is that I would formulate it so, your product, that the world is run by software, children don't understand software. You have a solution how children will understand software and the programming. And that is your cues.
In early ages.
Well, whatever ages, but the world is run by software, children don't understand software.
Yeah.
You have a solution.
Yeah.
Even, I mean,
programming.
I think there's more to. I think there's something. If you know programming, if you've programmed, you know that it's a way of understanding the world. It's a way of dealing with problem solving in general, and that's a skill. You don't want every kid to become a programmer, but you want them to be able to think like a programmer.
That's what I was going actually to answer. There can be many whys, not just one. So it's not only about children don't understand software, which is very important, and we solve this as well. But then the other question is why children need to know how to program. So then I was going actually to answer to your why more through what he said.
And my point is the world is run by software.
Software is the world.
The world, yeah, or something like, that is like you are facing the software when you are paying your bus ticket there. And it's a similar thing that you could say that when the printing press came, the world was run by texts. So you need to read and write.
Yeah, that is why you need to. The alphabets of the future are the things that you.
So you need to use alphabets.
Yeah, but you can come up with the comparison that why did we start to teach everybody to read and write? That was because there was a printing press and the world was run with the print. The laws, the contracts, everything. Now we have a different world. The texts are important still, but the software is running the world. If you don't understand that, how do you survive?
So, so think with things, I would say we experience the world with our body by interaction with everyday things, right? That's part of our nature, and that's something that's cut out of the educational system, where you interact just with sort of artificially, alien objects. So you want to bring the real world back, but you also want to use the power of the digital. Right?
Cool.
We're living in a 3D world, and we're learning from a 2D world. So we are enabling the access to the 3D learning.
Yeah. How different it is from standard, here's the problem, here's the solution framework.
Which is a combination of yes and no. It could be in your case, but it could be something totally different. What is and that is also the values of the company, and what drives you and your company also dictates partially in how what that why becomes. And also the target group, rightly said, when you talk to kids, it's different. But the statement shouldn't change. An example from the Christian belief is don't kill. Don't kill. Well, let's not kill. Pretty simple. It could mean a totally different thing to a small child who looks at an ant and is thinking about crushing that ant, or a guy who is hitting, or people in Ukraine or Russia. Don't kill. The context can change, but the inner value, the why, doesn't change. Get it? But this is very,
very difficult and very, very abstract. Most of the teams and most of the companies in our world never find this. It is so easy to bypass it because it isn't anything tangible. It isn't something that you say, well, we're missing this. But if you, and I'm now looking for the thing to wipe this thing with, can't find one, so I just, you know, I'm gonna wipe it with my hand.
Aalto University.
It's the design factory. Once you create something unique, it is never intended to be erased. So, I'm giving you now the, thanks a lot, this is a tool that you need to develop. First, you create your why. Then, you create your 3 statements where you can predict that the outcome of the crowd is positive. This means, after the why, there's a mammoth. We're hunting, we're hungry. Because we're hungry, we hunt. This is the groove, we hunt together, we are here, we're moving in this direction. Why? We're hungry, mammoth there, okay, good. We have these pairs, why do we have them? Hungry, mammoth, direction, we hunt, good, mammoth, kill, eat, Okay? And you create for your company, for your product, and even for every feature of your product, you can have something like this. And once you develop and continue developing your product, add new features to it, you can actually change this wireframe of these hanging objects. I add these things. I remove these things. And if you want to bring order to the chaos, remember this. You create with post-it notes the whole universe of your product. And with these tools, you can then start creating, moving into the design thinking and user-driven design, and product design is driven with methods of creating a user experience. You create a user experience map that consists of reasonings and features that the users need, and you can even pinpoint where, when, and why. Why are they doing it? And then turning it around, then you can go to your coders and say, code this. Okay? That's how revolutionary disruptive innovation is produced into products that are user designed. Good. Where are? Good. That we do. Now what does success require? Success requires, what was the, you've lost me, because people, you're intense, you're good. The success, has anyone seen this? Have you seen this video?
Yes.
Now this is what success,
How to create a movement.
yeah, this is.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes, and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come from 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
Now you need to become the...
if you've learned a lot about leadership,
you need to become the shirtless guy. What does it need? I'm saying that it needs a structure, yes, and the audience is listening out there. That's excellent. Like Steve Jobs. Saw him coming out. He didn't shout. He was walking on the stage, talking. He didn't raise his voice. He was delivering a message, and everybody was listening to him. And he kept them there. He kept them there by using the power of the 3, and he kept them there by making fun of himself. Remember? When he had built this thing, you know, this is what we will introduce, he showed the product that was an iPad with a rotary dial. And everybody laughed. So he made fun of himself. He stepped down from the heaven and said, I'm so humble that I can laugh at myself. And that's what you got to do. Now, the difference between a presenter that pitches, do I have time until 2 or 2:30?
2:30.
Good. Thank
25.
God. Or thank gods and the universe for that, because there's quite a lot of stuff we still have to go through. Now, do we remember everything that we learned this far? Do we? Do we know how to implement them? Do we? Do we know the absolute length of all of these things in characters? Do we? They have to be maximum of 140 characters, preferably 137 characters. Why? Because that enables people like them, or if somebody holds me in high regard, people like me just put an RT, retweet, or NT, modified tweet, that I can tweet them. So each message has to be deliverable in a tweetable format. And if you tweet something, you have to have a follow-up system. Who knows what bit.ly is? Bit.ly. Who knows? Bit.ly is a mechanism that allows you to track how many clicks and where do they come from and how that. Use those statistical tools. But create messages that are easy to spread. Why? What was Derek Sievers, the dancing guy? What did we learn?
That you need followers.
Make yourself easy to follow. Now, if you're talking we are developing a platform that is intended to be used between the 802.11 ABM transfer capable Wi-Fi packaging solution and a 4-dimensional solution that delivers on the non-hierarchical, auto-dependent systemic change procedure manual, and we will display that as a holographic implementation on the user screens, provided it is implemented on the 4G or 5G implementation by the network provider. Then things will be fine. You'll be like, huh? Simple thing. Okay? Reinvent the phone. Okay? So remember all this. Now the structure. Who has seen good speeches? What are great speeches?
Name.
One. Have you seen? Is there a speech that you remember?
Les Brown.
Les Brown. Okay. Anyone else remember speeches?
A movie from where it's called the Inches speech, where the basketball coach gives the American football coach gives a speech to.
Yeah, the Al Pacino speech.
The Al Pacino.
Yeah. Life is inches and all that.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs in Stanford graduation.
Yes. Now, those were speeches that were given by Al Pacino, wonderful actor. I think that he, if he were here, he could keep us entertained for 8 months. If we had Steve Jobs here, that would be a miracle. Yeah. But these are things that have been written. But there's one speech that I personally think is the strongest speech. That speech is given by Robert Kennedy after Martin Luther King was shot to death, and he said that he, a white American, wants to go and deliver the news to the black people in that neighborhood where Martin Luther King was from. He insisted on it. Everybody said, no, that's probably not the wise thing to do, but he said, I need to do it. And he went there, and he wrote that speech all by himself in the backseat of the car while being driven there, and he gave that speech in front of the public, and it was powerful. And he, instead of making the conflict apparent and problematic as it was, actually made a very strong statement that no one else could make. That statement was, as Martin Luther King was shot by a white American, so was my brother shot by a white American. And that, I think, was actually the moment when the racial discrimination in the US started wading away, because he was as black as the blackest black the night Martin Luther King was shot. That is a great speech. And he could have, I think you should, if you haven't seen, watch it. Because it is, wow. You need to become the evangelist of your organization, of your product, of the outcome of your product's implementation. You need to be able to hold the audience there for as long as you want. Because you never know how long that moment is. That's why whenever there's an opportunity to present, stand up, take the stage. And it's possible that it's 5 seconds that you have time, or it could be 5 hours. But a great person who speaks personally and professionally about something that is important, not just to himself, but to the audience, can keep the crowd like this for hours, decades, hundreds of years, thousands of years. An endless amount of time. And that is what you need to do. You need to become that good. Now that means that you have to have a structure. Remember, I'm giving you tools. First tool, find the why, the black thing, do that. Because if you don't have it, if you think, he's just making such, he's just there saying that. If you can't, send me a tweet with the why of your product, I'm telling you, you haven't done your homework. The moment you can do it, I'll be real proud. But if you can't do it, then you have to do the exercise. It's really really difficult. Remember, if you don't find it, most of the companies, most of the people don't find it ever. Those people, and I'm not judging anyone, I'm saying that everybody has a right to be exactly the way they are and exactly they want to be, and everybody has a freedom to blah, 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 do whatever. I'm very liberal in my thinking. We humans just happen to be on a bell curve somewhat different. There are the ones who are the innovators, and the innovators are the revolutionaries. Then we have those who support our work. Those are the early adapters. The early adapters that give funding to you. The people that say that, okay, those are the crazy ones who are running out there, let's give them some money and let's see if something clever comes out. Then we have the early majority, then we have the late majority, and then we have the laggards. Now the laggards, who are the laggards? Laggards are the one who buy ice cream that has their grandparents' picture on it. Even your granddad would have eaten this ice cream. They buy that because, oh, it's so good that my granddad would have bought it. Now these are the ones who buy Teslas, though there's no connectivity, you know. I know of people in Africa where there's no power grid. People who have money have bought Teslas into villages. Okay, because they are, someday this will change. And our world, the way this world is managed, just to keep it in shape, is managed by a system that is based somewhere here. All of the regulatory frameworks and all of the policies and all of the bureaucrats and all of the civil servants are here. They don't even speak the language these people do speak here. That is why when you're building your business, when you're building your product, you need to find, there's a great book called Crossing the Chasm. It was written, I think, in the 90s about how, you know, great companies fall here into the chasms here between. I remember reading in the 90s when I started selling software. So, read that. You have to talk to these people with a different voice. Now, what that means in practice for people like in this incubation program, whatever this is, an incubation program, yeah, you should try to sell your solution to your colleagues. Because if you can tell, you know that guy? If you can say that he uses our software, it gives you credibility. If you too can say that we're doing this in collaboration with these and we have this joint team, you know, all of a sudden you're creating a network of players that makes it look more solid. Because, once again, going back to research, do you know how we humans, how societies actually start using technologies? Who's heard of the technology acceptance model? Technology acceptance model, remember, I'm stupid, old, and stubborn, slow, fat, ugly, polarizing, and oversimplifying. My job is to polarize and oversimplify things so that they become, comprehend what they mean, understand them. Technology acceptance model says that humanity users start using technology when they perceive it to be easy to use and useful. Is that wrong? Yeah, good, thank you. We're still friends. That means that the user needs to perceive, not know, but perceive. Once again, going back to Simon Sinek, remember limbic brain, they have to feel that it's good, easy to use, and it's useful. Okay. So technology acceptance model means that instead of all the features, no, you just have to go and paint a beautiful picture and make them, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, cool.
That's Steve Jobs' graph.
Exactly. Smoke, mirrors, music, and dance. And dance to the music that the people want to hear. And that's why you need to have these very clear and definite messages that don't mess up your play. Because when you're doing long talks and you're doing conferences and you all of a sudden, you know, you're doing a road show, and on the 18th day, somebody comes in the crowd, it's dark, you're under the weather, somebody comes and poses a question, and you're like, you're sick and tired, you want to get out, and you don't answer that question properly. You know what? That could be the guy who was there and had actually participated in 3 of those events.
He had actually followed you on the roadshow. He wanted to invest into my company, and I failed him because I didn't deliver. And here comes, not the movie, here comes, your job is to keep them listening. That means that whenever you go out there, you need to be prepared and you need to give your best. If this is a hobby for you, it's okay to be, but if it's a job for you, you have to have the attitude of a professional. And the professional attitude means that you have to be able to deal with anything and everything according to everything and anything you can, always to your utter limits. No compromises. Because when you're creating a revolution, quality-wise, attitude-wise, it is the same as quality. It either exists or it doesn't. Your thing either works or it doesn't. It's not like, an airplane flies or it doesn't fly. It doesn't almost fly. A woman is either pregnant or not pregnant. A woman isn't almost pregnant. So you have to be really violent and really hard and really professional about anything and everything you do. That means you have to prepare. Every talk you do, every presentation you give, you have to be focused. Why? We'll come to that later. First, let's give you a structure and understanding of a structure. We might be running 10 minutes over time. I'm saying this already now. Okay. Sorry about that, wasting your time for something like this. If you have more important things to do, you can go out and do it. Now, this is once again, this is a TED Talk. This is a woman called Nancy Duarte. Now, the funny thing is, I started looking into these things 2008, 2009, and 2010, and all these CNECs and Duartes and all this, started popping up around the same time, without people knowing each other. Even Saraswati, were you there at start of Sana when Saraswati was there giving her lecture? I was there, and I see from the videos, I stand up and get away because I thought it was boring. Now 2 years or 3 years after she gave those talks, I'm like, wow, I'm your biggest fan. And she's like, Aape, go and watch the videos. I go and watch the videos, and the first thing I see is my head moving away. I'm like, okay, thanks. Cool, I'm a clever guy. No, I'm stupid. But these are good pointers. Because they are pre-qualified. There is something to them. And Nancy Duarte is luckily we have a woman, because women are more clever, and we will be spending, we're not going to be spending 8, we'll start there. Aalto open. Yes, we have internet connectivity, yes. Good. Let's do this. Am I boring you? No. Thank you. You're very polite. We'll start from here.
It's powerless if it stays inside of you. It's a powerful device known to man, and that's an idea. So a single idea from the human mind, it can start a groundswell, it could be a flashpoint for a movement, and it can actually rewrite our future. But an idea is powerless if it stays inside of you. If you never pull that idea out for others to contend with, it will die with you. Now maybe some of you guys have tried to convey your idea, and it wasn't adopted, it was rejected, and some other mediocre or average idea was adopted. And the only difference between those two is in the way it was communicated. Because if you communicate an idea in a way that resonates, change will happen, and you can change the world.
Due to time constraints, we'll be forward. So she starts talking about how stories are created and how they are delivered. She tells that she has analyzed tens of thousands of stories, and she has come to the conclusion that there is a generic story structure that...
And normal, unappealing, and you're wanting to draw them towards what could...
That is pictured right here. Good. Okay, you see this? Nancy Duarte TED Talk takes 18 minutes to walk through it. But I will now give you a practical implementation of how to implement that into your story. Now, Every story starts with a beginning. The beginning is the most important thing for the story because it defines the dynamic, the importance of the story. First, you create a hell. You describe the world as bad as it is today. And then, you describe how beautiful it will be when your product or service is implemented. So you create the dynamic, the variance of your talk. You have to do that at the very beginning because you can't change the dynamic of the story somewhere along the line. You can't start off by saying, yesterday I had 3 euros and 20 cents in my pocket, tomorrow I will have 3 euros and 22 cents in my pocket, and start off by like this, and then in the end say, by the way, I have invented the time machine. People have, they're drifted away. Internet things have drawn them away from you. So you have to create a hell, heaven, using the whys, okay? So the why, the change that your product implements is actually that dynamic. After that, you start sailing upwind. You go on the starboard, you go on the, against the wind. Always using the heaven and hell, so describe a hell situation, and then how your product or service changes that into a heavenly situation. And keep on doing like that. And in the end of the story, ta-da! You told them, you showed the audience how the universe became better after your product was implemented. That is the structure of a beautiful, perfect story. Now, Nancy Duarte, what was this? Nancy, somebody accepted the meeting. Nancy Duarte has done tens of thousands of presentations and analyzed movies, books, and so on and so forth. And her overall statement was that every single important communication that was delivered to humanity, whether it was Moses on the mountain, whether it was Muhammad in the desert, whether it was John F. Kennedy, whether it was Robert F. Kennedy, whether it was Steve Jobs, they all follow the same structure. Okay, good, cool. You. Now, how do you deliver this? You deliver these things by being the one person you are, and that's you. You must remember that you are the best you there is. No one's better than you are, as you. So you have to be you. Because that's the sad fact of life. We're born with this, and we can't change this. We don't get an upgrade. There's not going to be Aape 2.0, though many might wish that.
Not yet.
And then the slides. I had one instruction for you to do. Go to Google and Google this, "You suck at PowerPoint." It brings you to a beautiful, open source, left-righted, copy-lefted presentation that tells you what not to do when you do the slides. Okay? Now, if it's an elephant, say it. Many people, when they want to talk about an elephant, they don't start by saying, well, this is an elephant. They go about describing, this is an animal, that means it has lungs, it breathes using muscles, it breathes oxygen into these lungs, and the muscles actually work using oxygen. Well, how? The lungs actually are they leather? And how? And they focus and describe something that someone in the audience could say, well, it's gray, it has lungs, it could be a mouse. So we describe, like you were, with these many features. You have this and you have that, and you could do this and you can have that. If you're delivering an elephant, tell people at the very beginning, this is an elephant we're talking about. Because that allows the crowd to decide whether they want to listen to the story about the elephant or about the mouse, and let them concentrate on. So you have to contextualize. And if you are talking about an elephant, describe an elephant and not a gray animal that has 4 legs and gives birth to living, because it could be a mouse. And a mouse is a completely different beast than an elephant. So say straight out loud. Then, if you have 100 words that you want to use,
drop 50 of them. How do you do that? Well, you write your text and drop 50 of those words. And when you go on stage, let me summarize. First thing you have to do is you have to find your why. Why do you exist? Translate that into a statement, 140 characters at the most. You have to create the positive arguments, once again, 136 characters because of RT and MT, modify, tweet, retweet, okay? And then you have to practice, practice, and practice. Now, how do you practice? You have to practice not by just, I'm really busy practicing my speech. No, use devices like this. Do you have a mobile device that has a video camera on it? Use it. First step, do your pitch and record it and look at it yourself. You'll notice how bad it is. Second phase, exercise, practice so that you are so proud of it that you want to share it with your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Okay? And then you will see the look on his or her face. Is that what you do for a living? and keep on doing that for so long that she is so proud of the video that she wants to show it to her best friend. This is what my guy or girl is doing. Do that, and after that, put it on your Facebook page, if you're on Facebook. Put it out for people to judge. And keep on doing it. Reiterate, reiterate, reiterate. Practice, practice, practice. Do, do, do. Why? Because when you present, what is your job?
Keep them selling.
No, that's all wrong. That's just a tool. Your job is to be there and get what you need from the crowd. You have to have all these automated things that you can throw at the people, and you have to be able to find that one individual that you know that I'm going to get this from her. And then you will work on that. That means that you will have to be able to focus on multiple things. It's possible that the crowd is very changed. That means that you have to be delivering 1, 2, 3, or 4 intertwined stories into the presentation because you want funding from him, you want him to work for you, you want her support for this program, and you want to keep him happy and keep him as a friend. That's 5 stories for you. And you have to keep them there. You have to keep them, and you have to understand that the people may not be that fluent in English. That's why you have to cut down the vocabulary. But then there's someone who's really clever, and he listens to your vocabulary whether I understand actually the things that I'm talking about. So I had to drop in something special, and he's like, okay, good, he knows his shit. That's why you have to practice, because your job is not to present, your job is to go out there and get what you want, and get what you need. And that's why you have to practice, practice, and practice, and do, do, do. The guys, when they play soccer, they practice every day for hours. Why? Because in the haste of the game, they can't think about, ball come, what should I do? No, they have to be able to look at the goal scoring in the World Cup final against Germany. The Argentinian guy, ball comes and he's like, what should you do? About 28 minutes. He didn't score because he was in a situation where he couldn't score. Look at what happened. 115th minute, whatever it was, pass, guy, ball, goal. That's what you gotta do. That's why you need to practice. Thank you. We're over time. Sorry. Thanks.
So luckily we have it all on tape. So next time we meet and you say, I never said that, we can show you did. But also we can go back and review and kind of, it was quite fast paced. I think we'll need to kind of go over it again and kind of pick up and maybe then, contact you and ask you questions later. But we do have about 5 minutes for questions now. So, right, we have 5 minutes for questions? 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Can I just add 2 things very quickly?
Yeah.
One thing regarding the Steve Jobs example. Steve Jobs was not the most humble guy on the planet, but this presentation is very humble. It doesn't say we have the best phone, it just says Apple reinvented the phone. and this is very important. Normally we try to oversell what we have. We say we have the best, we are the better, we are the only one, we are the unique. He didn't say we, he said Apple reinvented the phone.
Yeah.
And I think this is very important. It's just about facts and about what he believes. and what he believes his company is doing. And the second thing is that, and I'm sure that this is not, what you have said for me is not about a pitch. It's about defining the real core story that you have. And defining the real core story is the starting point of any business. The pitch is just a detail. I mean, if the story is wrong, the pitch will be wrong. So there is no, you agree on this?
Yes. Yeah.
I think I want to take it back to the two presentations you had, because I think because I've talked with Subu before, and I've heard, I think he actually had the why, but he said it in a very kind of in a low tone, and then sort of jumped into the what, because that's either. I think maybe it's a matter of bringing your voice out, right? I mean, you know why you're doing it, right? But maybe you know it so well that it's beyond you to explain that to somebody else, and that's what you need the practice for.
Yeah, exactly. Once you find something that is unique and where you know that the users need it, you have to actually stand up and say it out loud. And that is one of the things behind the elephant thinking, It's an elephant. It's not just some mouse. It is a big thing. And you have to, we Finns, well, I'm not a typical Finn. Tim was neither, but look at the clothes you're wearing. So, you have to stand up and be vocal about it. It takes courage. And courage is a funny thing. People don't respect courage that much. And I like, when I was a kid, I liked John Wayne movies. And John Wayne has this beautiful saying about courage. Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up and riding away anyway. And that's what entrepreneurship and that's what innovation is. You have set sail. You don't know